بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حميم. تنزيل من الرحمن الرحيم. كتاب فصلت آياته قرآنا عربيا لقوم يعلمون بشيرا ونذيرا فأعرض أكثرهم فهم لا يسمعون وقالوا قلوبنا في أكنة مما تدعونا إليه وفي آذاننا وقر ومن بيننا وبينك حجاب فاعمل إننا عاملون قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد فاستقيموا إليه واستغفروه وويل للمشركين الذين لا يؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم كافرون إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم أجر غير ممنون قل أئنكم لتكفرون بالذي خلق الأرض في يومين وتجعلون له أندادا ذلك رب العالمين وجعل فيها رواسي من فوقها وبارك فيها وقدر فيها أقواتها في أربعة أيام سواء للسائلين ثم استوى إلى السماء وهي دخان فقال لها وللأرض ائتيا طوعا أو كرها قالتا أتينا طائعين فقضاهن 7 سماوات في يومين وأوحى في كل سماء أمرها وزينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وحفظا ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم فإن أعرضوا فقل أنذرتكم صاعقة مثل صاعقة عاد وثمود إذ جاءتهم الرسل من بين أيديهم ومن خلفهم ألا تعبدوا إلا الله قالوا لو شاء ربنا لأنزل ملائكة فإنا بما أرسلتم به كافرون فأما عاد فاستكبروا في الأرض بغير الحق وقالوا من أشد منا قوة أولم يروا أن الله الذي خلقهم هو أشد منهم قوة وكانوا بآياتنا يجحدون فأرسلنا عليهم ريحا صرصرا في أيام نحسات لنذيقهم عذاب الخزي في الحياة الدنيا ولعذاب الآخرة أخزى وهم لا ينصرون وأما ثمود فهديناهم فاستحبوا العمى على الهدى فأخذتهم صاعقة العذاب الهون بما كانوا يكسبون ونجينا الذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون ويوم يحشر أعداء الله إلى النار فهم يوزعون حتى إذا ما جاءوها شهد عليهم سمعهم وأبصارهم وجلودهم بما كانوا يعملون وقالوا لجلودهم لم شهدتم علينا قالوا أنطقنا الله الذي أنطق كل شيء وهو خلقكم أول مرة وإليه ترجعون وما كنتم تستترون أن يشهد عليكم سمعكم ولا أبصاركم ولا جلودكم ولكن ظننتم أن الله لا يعلم كثيرا مما تعملون وذلكم ظنكم الذي ظننتم بربكم أرداكم فأصبحتم من الخاسرين فإن يصبروا فالنار مثوى لهم وإن يستعتبوا فما هم من المعتدين وقيضنا لهم قرناء فزينوا لهم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم وحق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين وقال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون فلنذيقن الذين كفروا عذابا شديدا ولنجزينهم أسوأ الذي كانوا يعملون ذلك جزاء أعداء الله النار لهم فيها دار الخلد جزاء بما كانوا بآياتنا يجحدون وقال الذين كفروا ربنا أرنا الذين أضلانا من الجن والإنس نجعلهما تحت أقدامنا ليكونا من الأسفلين إن الذين قالوا ربنا الله ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين ولا تستوي الحسنة ولا السيئة ادفع بالتي هي أحسن فإذا الذي بينك وبينه عداوة كأنه ولي حميم وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا الذين صبروا وما يلقاها إلا ذو حظ عظيم وإما ينزغنك من الشيطان نزغ فاستعذ بالله إنه هو السميع العليم صدق الله العظيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله عباد الله أذكركم ونفسي بما يقوله الحق في كتابه العزيز بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Inshallah, today we're going to talk about an interesting subject. It's the first day of 2021 and people are thinking about the 20 and 21 and it is the first Friday of the year. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of us and protect all of us. Today, inshallah, we're going to discuss this concept of the New Year's resolution. Now, we're not going to talk about and we're not going to get involved in halal and haram here. The issue here is a lot of people, whether Muslims or non-Muslims, they set these resolutions and they talk about resolutions. And people accustomed to making these resolutions and basically they say, I wish, I decide, and I hope, but we need to keep in mind that all these resolutions are basically considered as hopes or dreams. But at the same time, people look at it as the way they want to improve their lives, whether losing weight or study hard or exercise. On the other hand, we, the Muslims, should have set our priorities straight. So Of course, our faith, we need to look at what our top priorities are. So when it comes to Islam and the way we look at these priorities, one of the things we need to look at and to consider is what the Quran and what the Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ tells us. So the question becomes, how are we doing when it comes to these resolutions? How is my relationship with Allah? How is my Islamic knowledge? Am I ready to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We don't know when we're gonna die. So we need to keep thinking of, what if I die today? Am I ready to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So it is great to come up with resolutions, but we need to keep in mind the concept of the Islamic knowledge. Yes, we cannot differentiate and we cannot create this border between material thing and the spiritual thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran about all of this, whether resolutions or decide or what I want to do and all of that. There is one word in Arabic which is mentioned in the Quran more than 10 times, azm. Basically, when we're looking at this word and see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُتَوَكِّلِينَ. So when you are resolved, then put your trust in Allah. Allah loves those who put their trust in Him. So for any resolution we need to make or to think about, but we need to associate that and to depend on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, when we read Surah Al-Kahf, which it helps us if we read it every Friday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us that what to say at the times of these resolutions. The Quran clearly defines the process here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Kahf, وَلَا تَقُولَنَّ لِشَيْءٍ إِنِّي فَاعِلٌ ذَلِكَ غَدًا إِلَّا أَنْ يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ واذكر ربك إذا نسيت وقل عسى أن يهديني ربي لأقرب من هذا رشدا. And say not of anything, I shall do this tomorrow, except if Allah will. And remember your Lord when you're forgotten, and say, it may be that your Lord guides me into a near way of truth than this. So it is really critical that when we set our priorities or our resolutions, we cannot forget to say, we should not forget to say, Insha'Allah, because yes, whatever our intentions are, if Allah doesn't want to make it happen, it's not going to happen. And whatever we plan to do, Allah has a plan for us. So when we set these resolutions, we need to keep that in mind. So every human being has his hope or her hope and aspiration, and everyone has to plan and to take initiatives so that we will be able to fulfill our mission. And of course, our mission, we were created to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else. So it is really critical that when we think about the new year, we need to come up with things that get us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are things that we need to set priorities. So for example, you could come up with these resolutions. I'm just going to suggest a few things. But whatever we come up with, we need to see, is it going to get me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So, for example, when we put our priorities, for example, let's say the first one is to keep Allah at the center of our lives. So what does that mean? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that, say, verily I call to my Lord and I do not ascribe any partner to him at all. So anything we do, we need to keep in mind, is it going to get me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So this is a priority for all Muslims, to be sure that whatever we do is to get us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Second resolution, for example, focus on prayers. We know that on the Day of Judgment, the first thing we're going to be asked about is our prayers. If they are accepted, then of course all our deeds will be accepted. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, and when you have completed the prayer, remember Allah standing, sitting, or lying on your side. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are so many verses in the Quran talks about prayer. قد أفلح المؤمنون الذين هم في صلاتهم خاشعون. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned salat and zakat. So it is really critical that to think about and say in 2021, first I want to do the best I can to get close to Allah. Second is, am I praying on time? Am I praying the 5 daily prayers? How about praying extra prayers, Qiyamul Layl or anything else? A third one, for example, is to make more dua. After going through 2020, we need to make more dua. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, when my servants ask you concerning me, tell them I am indeed closer to them. I listen to the prayer of every supplicant when he calls on me. So when we make dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, is listening to us. But we need to keep making dua for ourselves, for others, for the sick people, for the Muslims, for the people we know. A fourth thing is to give more charity. I mean, the zakat is one of the pillars of Islam. And, you know, if I keep reminding people and thanking Brother Muhammad, he keeps us that, tells us that if all the Muslims really pay their zakat, we don't need to do fundraising, which is a reality. But in addition to that, this is an opportunity, especially nowadays, where people lost their jobs. And those of us who have, we need to contribute more and to be able to help. This can be a priority for us for 2021. Another resolutions we can think about is to be more patient. And nowadays, more than ever, we need to be more patient. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, be patient. Indeed, Allah is with the patient. So, inna Allah ma'as sabirin. So this is one thing we need to practice now and prepare ourselves for Ramadan. Another priority we need to think about for this coming year is educate ourselves. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala demand us, when we read the Quran, the first verse, it was related to our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Iqra, read in the name of Allah, your Lord. So, and also knowledge, seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. So it is an obligation for us to learn about our religion and try to teach others. Another thing we can think about is as a priority for 2021, is to read more Quran, to make it a practice before Fajr or after Fajr or any time. 10 minutes, 15 minutes to read the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, a book, the Quran, which we have sent down to you, full of blessings, that they may ponder over its verses, and the men of understanding may receive admonition. So it is really critical. And the blessings that we receive from reading the Quran. Try to memorize the Quran. Try to read the tafsir. That will help ourselves and prepare ourselves for the day of judgment. Another thing we need to think about is to be more forgiving. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, and let them pardon and overlook. Would you not like that Allah should forgive you? And Allah is forgiving and merciful. So there are so many things we need to think about. And we need to keep in mind that the fact that we learn from our religion that اعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا واعمل لآخرتك كأنك تموت غدا. So what does that mean? Do for your worldly affair if you are to live forever, and plan for the hereafter as if you are to die tomorrow. So we have to balance. We cannot just focus on this life and forget the hereafter. At the same time, we cannot isolate ourselves and just focus in the hereafter and forget uh, our life here. For example, you cannot isolate yourself and go somewhere on a mountain and live and just, I'm going to worship Allah day and night. We have responsibilities. We need to fulfill our responsibilities, whether responsibilities towards ourselves or our families or the community. We have to work, we have to provide. At the same time, we cannot ignore the hereafter. And this is the balance where we have to be able to balance between this life and the hereafter. And also, it is really critical that the intentions are critical, because if your intention is to do something, my intention is to finish the Quran in this month, but something happened, I died. So the intention is considered, that your intention is there to do it, but because you passed away, then Allah might reward you for these intentions. And we learn from our Prophet ﷺ about the intention and how that will have an impact on our life. But the most important aspect for all of us, and I'd like to remind myself and remind all of you that, yes, we do not celebrate the new year, but it happens. Everybody around the world, they recognize this year. And yes, we can make resolutions. We don't have to wait until the beginning of the new year. We can do it at any time we want. But the most important aspect is we need to be realistic. We need to understand ourselves and not to complicate life. Make it simple for us. Rasul ﷺ taught us that to do little things, but in a continuous basis. Not just, I want to memorize the Quran in the whole month, and then nothing happened. So we hope and pray that we will do our best to improve our intentions, to plan well for the future, and to prepare ourselves for the hereafter. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us all and guide us all and make us worthy people on this planet. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our shortcomings, and may Allah accept our humble efforts. May Allah help us to practice Islam in our daily lives, and may Allah help us to execute our commitment, our pledges, our oath, our vows, and our resolutions. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. May Allah bless all of you. جزاكم الله خير. Any questions, any comments? Anybody wants to add anything?
May Allah bless you.
جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Alaykum salam.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.